Assalamualaikum and good day to everyone. We are from Team Nama FCA. Our team member is me, NURUL HIDAYAH binti Muhammad JAILANI, and followed by Sheikh HARTINI, and the third one is NABILAH, and the fourth one AININ, SALSABILLA, and followed by Muhammad NIZAR and Muhammad ALIFF, and last one is RASHIDI. Today we are going to talk about idealism theory in international relations. Idealism focuses on cooperation, peace and moral values in global politics. Unlike realism, which only focus on power and self-interest, idealism suggests that global stability can be achieved through international institutions and collaboration. The theory believes that nations can work together for the common good to ensure long-lasting peace. So, essentially, idealism looks at international relations from a moral and optimistic standpoint, unlike realism, which sees the international system are driven by power struggle.
Assalamualaikum and salam sejahtera to everyone. Thank you to my friend for the introduction. My name is HARTINI binti AWANG. Now I would like to present about definition of idealism theory. To define idealism in international relations, it is a theory that emphasizes the role of moral values, cooperation, and ethical principles in shaping the interactions between states. Idealists believe that the world can be a better place if nations adhere to values such as justice, equality, and human rights. Unlike realism, which stresses the idea of self-interest and power politics, idealism proposes that global peace and stability can be achieved through the establishment of international laws and global institutions. For instance, the United Nations (UN) plays a crucial role in promoting this value by providing a platform for international dialogue and conflict resolution. Fathers of idealism's theories: Plato. Now, let's look at Plato, who is considered the father of idealism in political philosophy. Plato was an ancient Greek philosopher who believed in creating an ideal state based on justice, morality, and truth. He envisions the society where harmony and ethics will guide rulers to make decisions for the common good. Plato's philosophy emphasized that society should be governed by ethical leaders who are driven by moral values rather than personal interests. His ideas influenced later thinkers who believed in the potential for achieving peace and stability through the ethical governance. Plato's concept of the ideal society laid the groundwork for idealism theory, particularly in how we view the roles of moral principles in politics today. Fathers of Wilsonian idealism: Woodrow Wilson. Next, we have Woodrow Wilson, the 28th President of the United States who promoted Wilsonian idealism in the early 20th century. Wilson was an advocate for democracy and self-determination and international cooperation. He believed that in order to avoid future war, nations had to work together through international institutions like the League of Nations. His vision was clear: global peace could be achieved by promoting democracy, respecting human rights, and creating an environment where countries could be disputed through dialogue instead of war. Wilson's influence on international relations was immense, as his ideas shaped many aspects of the post-World War I peace process. And even though the League of Nations wasn't as successful as hoped, his visions influenced the United Nations in the years that followed. That's all from me. Thank you. Now I will pass the presentation to the next presenter. Thank you.
Hello everyone. In this presentation, I will explain the historical emergence and development of idealism in international relations, and later highlight the key ideas of Wilsonian idealism. To begin, the roots of idealism can be traced back to ancient philosophical thinking. Plato introduced the idea that the ethics, moral values, and rationality should guide human behavior, including interactions between states. Later, in the 18th century, Immanuel Kant expanded this perspective through his famous work, Perpetual Peace. proposing that peace is achievable through cooperation, republican governments, and adherence to international law. These early philosophical ideas laid the foundation for modern idealist thinking. Moving forward to the period before World War I, discussions on peace, international law, and arbitration began to gain momentum. Scholars and statesmen were increasingly calling for diplomatic mechanisms to prevent conflicts. These early debates nurtured the belief that global peace could be achieved through ethical diplomacy and legal frameworks. Idealism fully emerged after World War I in 1918, when nations were determined to prevent another global tragedy. During this period, idealism became the dominant theory in international relations. The most notable achievement was the creation of the League of Nations, which represented the first major attempt to establish a global institution dedicated to maintaining peace. This period is often referred to as utopian idealism because of its strong belief that war could be eliminated through cooperation, transparency, and moral leadership. However, idealism soon faced its greatest challenges. In the late 1930s to 1945, the League of Nations failed to stop the rise of fascist powers in Europe. The outbreak of World War II further discredited idealist assumptions. Prominent realist thinker E.H. Carr criticized idealism, arguing that it was too naive and ignored the realities of power politics. After World War II, idealism experienced a revival, especially with the establishment of the United Nations. New international institutions such as the IMF, World Bank, and later the WTO were created to promote cooperation, development, and stability. Human rights frameworks also expanded, reinforcing the idealist belief that global norms and institutions can shape peaceful international relations. In modern times, idealism has evolved into what we call liberal institutionalism, championed by scholars such as Robert Keohane and Joseph Nye. The theory continues to influence concepts like democratic peace, complex interdependence, and the use of soft power. Now, let us turn to Wilsonian idealism, one of the most influential strands of idealist thoughts. Named after Woodrow Wilson, the 28th President of the United States, this approach emerged right after World War I. Wilson believed that international politics could be transformed by replacing secret diplomacy and power struggles with openness, collective security, and moral principles. Wilson's greatest contribution was his role in promoting the League of Nations, which reflected his conviction that international institutions can prevent future wars. Although the United States never joined the League, Wilson's ideas strongly influenced the creation of the United Nations after World War II. Wilsonian idealism also laid the foundation for today's global governance systems. Institutions such as the UN, IMF, World Bank, and WTO carry forward Wilson's belief that cooperation and rules-based systems are essential for maintaining international order. His ideas continue to inspire modern IR concepts, including soft power and the importance of democratic values. That's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Rashidi and now I will present about core principles of Wilsonian idealism. Alright, let's dive into the philosophical foundation behind American diplomacy following First World War. This is a Wilsonian idealism named after President Woodrow Wilson. The core principles of Wilsonian idealism can be summarized into three main pillars. Firstly, self-determination. This principle is the fundamental recognition that every nation or ethnic group should have the right to decide their own political and economic future, free from external interference and coercion. It is a call for genuine national sovereignty. Secondly, international cooperation. Wilson strongly believed that peace could not be secured by one nation alone. He argued that countries must work together collectively, specifically through the establishment of strong global institutions to address common challenges and ensure collective security. And thirdly is democracy and human rights. At the heart of Wilson's worldwide is the conviction that the promotion of democracy and respect for human rights are essential for creating a peaceful and just world. By promoting this value, Wilson hoped to prevent the kind of large-scale conflict and destruction that defined First World War. Now I will present about Wilson 14 point 1918. Wilson's philosophy of idealism was codified in historic document known as Wilson's 14 point, proposed in 1918 as a blueprint for achieving a lasting peace after First World War. These points comprise a specific set of proposals intended to restructure the global order. Among the most significant were, first, freedom of navigation, is a principle to ensure that the seas are open to all nations in both peace and war. Next is free trade, the removal of tariff barriers and other trade restrictions to allow for more equal market access between nations. Next is the establishment of the Liga of Nations. This is perhaps the most visionary point. Its goal was to create an intergovernmental organization to mediate disputes diplomatically and actively prevent future wars. Last is the disarmament. Wilson called for the general and coordinated reduction of military armaments to prevent future armed conflict. Collectively, the 14 points not only shaped the post-war peace process but also laid the conceptual groundwork that continues to influence global diplomacy and the formation of international organizations today.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Nabilah. Today I will present regarding the state of idealism. The state of idealism are clear. First is promote peace, cooperation and justice in international relations. Idealism encourages nations to act based on moral principles rather than self-interest. It also supports the creation of international institutions like the United Nations, which help to mediate conflict and promote global stability. Moreover, idealism supports ethnic conduct in global politics, urging countries to act for the common good and collaborate to address global challenges. Next is the weakness of idealism. Despite its strength, idealism has several weaknesses. It is often critiqued as being naive and impractical in the real world. Idealism overlooks the self-interest of state and their power struggle. In practice, countries may not always prioritize cooperation and ethnic overpower and security. Additionally, idealism does always address the complexities of real politics and geopolitical dynamics, which are often driven by national interests rather than moral principles. Thank you, Doctor. We pass to the next person.
My name is Muhammad Ali bin Yusof. I will present about comparison between Wilsonian idealism and classical idealism. Let's compare Wilsonian idealism and classical idealism. Wilsonian idealism is more pragmatic, focusing on creating international institutions like the language of nations and promoting global cooperation. In contrast, classical idealism is more utopian and abstract, aiming for a world of peace and cooperation without considering the real-world political challenges that often arise between nations. The next is comparison between idealism and realism in international relations. Now, let's compare idealism and realism. Idealism is focused on cooperation, morality, and belief that international institutions can bring about peace. On the other hand, realism prioritizes national interests and power, viewing international relations as a competition between states. Realism believes that the world is inherently anarchic and the conflict is inevitable. Idealism, however, suggests the collaboration and ethical conduct can lead the global peace.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. I'm Muhammad Nizar bin JAFFAR. Today I will present 4.0 impacts towards international relations. I will explain for the 4.1 first, relevance of idealism in the modern world. Idealism remain relevant in the modern world, especially with the influence of global institutions like the United Nations and the European Union. This institution works to promote human rights, diplomacy, and cooperation on issues such as climate change, global health, and conflict resolution. While realism may still dominate political decision-making in certain areas, idealism plays a significant role in fostering global cooperation today. We will go to the 4.0, next impact towards international relations. 4.2. idealist thinker in international relations. Several key thinkers have shaped idealism in international relations, such as Immanuel Kant. He argued for a perpetual peace through international cooperation. Norman Angel, he believed that war was economically irrational due to the interdependence between nations. Woodrow Wilson, his vision for global governance and self-determination continues to influence international relations.
Okay, I will continue for the conclusion in the idealism theory. Idealism theory advocates for moral principle, peace and cooperation in international relations. It stresses the importance of creating international institutions like the United Nations to mediate conflicts and promote global stability. Despite criticism, idealism remains influential in shaping modern international relations, providing a framework for global cooperation and peaceful conflict resolution. And finally, here are the references we used for this presentation, which provide further insight into idealism theory and its application in international relations. That's all from me. Thank you.